This is 5 pounds of cat litter. This is also 5 pounds of cat litter. This one fills a box, while this one is only enough to elicit feline judgment. Online, there's no way to tell which is which before you buy. That's not just annoying, it's a $14 billion industry built on an 80-year-old moment of convenience that teaches us exactly how broken systems survive in plain sight indefinitely. By the end of this video, we'll see that cat litter is a perfect example of how defaults in lazy decision-making persist in our jobs, the government, and why we all keep doing obviously dumb things. Let's take a step back. If you're new here, welcome. I'm Jared. If you found me through my cruise fail video, this is the same problem, understanding the psychology of traps in our lives. This one's just a little fuzzier. And before anyone thinks I'm just some random guy ranting about cats on the internet, let me explain my qualifications. First, I'm a longtime cat dad and current butler to 3 furry bosses, Clay, Stringer, and Omar. I'm officially their daily business manager, so I'm intimately familiar with the nuances of this essential activity. Second, I used to run an R&D team for Fresh Step and Scoop Away. So when I say I know way too much about cat litter, I'm not kidding. I spent multiple years of my life studying cats, their bathroom byproducts, and the humans who deal with them. So sure, trust me, I'm a doctor, and this is one of the weird areas of my professional expertise. Alright, so let's break down the issues. Cat litter is sold by weight, but it's used by volume. Why is that dumb? Well, imagine if you bought toilet paper by the pound. Seriously, have you ever thought about how much toilet paper weighs? Of course not, because that's pointless. The same goes for cat litter. And here's the primary problem. Different types of litter have wildly different densities or the amount of space the product takes up. A 20-pound bag of clay litter might fill up 1 box, while a 20-pound bag of lightweight paper litter could fill up 4 boxes. The same number is on the bag. Completely different realities at home. And tiny pictures online aren't helping. It's like the people who buy furniture on Temu only to get a dollhouse dinette set that photographs really well. Compare it to other categories where volume matters. Mulch or topsoil are sold in cubic feet. Drinks are sold by the ounce or the liter. All of these make sense because they connect with how you actually use the product. But cat litter? Nope. The awkward thing is, measuring by weight is dumb for the producer also. The way manufacturing works, at least at my former company, we measured and filled the cartons by volume. You know, the same way you use to fill your litter pan. Imagine big cups scooping and dumping product into boxes. But since the label says pounds, not liters or gallons, every time the density shifts, which it does often, we had to tweak everything to make sure the weight hits the number printed on the package. So yeah, it's dumb for the buyer, it's dumb for the manufacturer. So where does this convention come from? Before litter came along in the 1940s, indoor cats were basically digging in ashes, dirt, or whatever sad substitute people could come up with. Then along comes Edward Lowe, right after World War II, with this brilliant idea. Fuller's Earth Clay. It absorbs liquid, controls odors, and lets cats bury their business properly. Honestly, it changed the entire relationship between humans and house cats. Huge win. Cat lovers around the world, we totally owe this guy. But when it came to measuring the product, Lowe made the obvious choice. As the inventor of something completely new, he went with what was easiest for him. He filled a bag, slapped a weight on the label, and sold it. It was a decision of pure convenience. There was no connection with how the consumer actually uses it. Just I have a scale, pounds are easy, ta-da! And because he was literally the only game in town, nobody cared, or if they did, they didn't have a choice. Want your cat to poop in your house conveniently? Buy some. Fast forward 80 years, and that one lazy choice is still with us. Never questioned, never updated, even though the category has exploded into dozens of materials and more than $10 billion in global sales. The one-size-fits-none metric from 1947 is somehow still the way it's done in 2026. It's the definition of tradition. Just because it's always been done that way doesn't mean it's not incredibly stupid. In the decades that followed, manufacturers started playing with formulas. You had clumping clays, non-clumping clays, silica crystals, which are basically the same material as those little do-not-eat pouches and shoeboxes, but now in bulk so your cats can pee on it. Then came the all-natural wave, pine pellets, walnut shells, and corn. And of course, the rise of lightweight litters. When I started that job, I was blown away by how different litters are and how little people actually think about it. I've owned cats for years, and I had no idea. We're talking about one product where 10 pounds fills one box, while 10 pounds of another could fill 9. It's a complete category based on the stupid riddle: which weighs more, a pound of bricks or a pound of feathers? The weight's the same, but since you only care about volume, do I need 2 boxes from Chewy, or did I just buy a lifetime supply? The next problem is the helpful math that retailers add to provide a comparison: price per pound. Elsewhere in the store, it makes complete sense. Price per unit is helpful to make apple juice to apple juice comparisons across different size containers and brands. Price per ounce on drinks works. But for cat litter, it's nonsense and, at worst, actively misleading. You've got paper litter at $3 a pound, silica crystals at $12.50 a pound, Tidy Cat lightweight litter at $1.53, and clumping clay at 48 cents a pound. What are we supposed to do with that? It's totally a spreadsheet artifact where someone just dragged the formula down without considering whether this calculation provided any value whatsoever. And there's no way to make a fair comparison with the information that's provided. So let's talk about the real impact. If this feels dumb already, good, because it's about to get worse. Manufacturers realize something clever. If everyone sells by the pound, there's a loophole. Clay is the most expensive part of clumping litter. It's the absorbent part that actually does something. And honestly, you don't need litter to be 100% clay. So it wastes money for you and the producer. So innovation shifted towards cost savings, adding heavy fillers like limestone or other things that are cheap and take up space. Suddenly, you've bulked up the weight, lowered your cost, and the label still proudly screams 25 pounds, even though there's less stuff in the box. It's completely invisible shrinkflation. For a different way to think of it, consider if toilet paper was sold by weight. Filler is the equivalent of making the cardboard tube heavier. It does nothing for product performance, but if it were more profitable for the producer, we'd start seeing innovations like now with tungsten cube core technology. Thankfully, toilet paper isn't sold by the pound, as its labeling of mega rolls, family rolls, 9 equals 36, 48 of ours equals 192, it's all confusing enough. But for cat litter, it's mayhem that we all just accept. So where does this leave us? It's a category that's been broken since day one. One guy in 1947 slapped sold by the pound on a bag because it was convenient, and somehow a lazy shortcut became gospel for this $10 billion industry. Nobody ever stopped to ask, does this actually make sense for people using it? 8 decades later, the answer is still no, or if they did, no one actually did anything about it. I know because I was the guy for a few years. When I worked in cat litter, which is a weird way to phrase my job, I pushed on this convention. I had this rant with leadership that we could be the ones to change things, actually labeling in a consumer meaningful way. I was, of course, shot down. No one wants to take the risk of being different from everyone else, even when everyone else is dumb. It's the corporate job security version of, if everyone else jumped off a bridge, would you? And the answer is always yes. Now, let's turn this into a management lesson. As marketing guru Rory Sutherland puts it, it is much easier to be fired for being illogical than for being unimaginative. No one is let go for doing what is expected or sticking with tradition. So we're at a stalemate, waiting for someone to take a stand and transform the category into something that makes sense. Because this isn't just about cat poop. It's about how we all get stuck in dumb defaults. How often do we keep using a metric or process simply because it's the way it's always been done? Not because it's helpful, not because it's right, or even that anyone who still works with the company can explain why you started measuring it in the first place. But because nobody had the energy or jingly cat toy balls to question it. There were other aspects of my job that I called out and changed. In one role, I was required to produce a monthly report. Every 30 days, I updated an elaborate spreadsheet and emailed it to my boss. Never heard anything back. Ever. So one day, I asked what he actually did with the report, and he was in the same boat as me. He had no clue. It was just how it was done when we both started these jobs. He didn't use my report for anything. He didn't pass it along to anyone else. So we were both just checking boxes. So one month, I stopped doing it, and nothing happened. Hours saved, zero value lost. And that's the real takeaway here. Tradition is not proof of intelligence. Whether you're talking about business metrics, government policies, or how you measure the dirt that your cat poops in, it's worth asking, is this actually useful, or is it just the dumb thing we never bothered to fix? Even if it was useful at one time, does it still provide any value today? One of the first things I taught in my direct reports was this: never assume the person who did the job before you knew what they were doing. Sometimes decisions made sense in the moment, but with more information, or say 8 decades of innovation, they make no sense whatsoever. Maybe there was some big deadline on a past project, and the team went with the only solution that achieved their timeline. Likely someone had the goal to go back and fix it later, and then they forgot or were told to deprioritize it because they already had something that worked. We let decisions like this persist because momentum feels easier than questioning them. Perhaps we do it because we think questioning it shows we don't really understand our jobs and it'll make us look dumb. I should probably know what this report is for, but I don't, so I'll just keep my head down, spending hours each month, churning it out, sending it to my boss, and hoping they don't follow up. Again, few people are fired just for continuing to do things the same way. There's a Japanese saying, "Terokue wa etareru." The nail that sticks out gets hammered down. Does that sound familiar? That's why nobody fixes stuff. And that's why cat litter is a perfect case study. It's been broken since the beginning, and it's only gotten worse with time. Aside from making sense for Edward Lowe, it never helped the person or felines actually using the product. This is the stuff I've spent most of my career untangling, not cat litter specifically, but the persistent assumptions that waste our time, money, and energy. So if this rant resonated with you, share in the comments. What's the most pointless metric or tradition you've ever put up with in your life? Did you ever call it out? And if you did, what happened? If you enjoyed overthinking cat litter with me, let me know, or figure out how to strategically send this to your boss. Or better yet, what's the thing in your life that you know is dumb that you can immediately apply this to? Tell your boss, I'm changing this to something that actually makes sense. This guy on YouTube told me to do it. So thanks for watching. Now go question something. Cheers.
Because I'm Ed Lowe, and I love your cat.